The grand buffet celebration of Project 2025 at Mar-a-Lago was in full swing. The place dripped with opulence. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like 1,000 mocking stars over piles of lobster tails and gold leaf-encrusted foie gras. The MAGA faithful were out in force, their crimson hats bobbing like poppies in a field of tuxedos and sequined gowns. But no one commanded more attention than the wicked witch Cheyenne de la Montmorency. In a puff of bayou mist and dead magnolia blossoms, she made her entrance. Clad in a tattered gown of moss and glowing swamp water, her bare feet left a trail of slick green sludge on the immaculate marble floors. Her thick Cajun drawl bounced off the walls as she cackled. "This will be a night to remember, Chair." To punctuate her promise, she let loose a lungful of glittering baby frogs into the crowd. They rained down on the MAGA onlookers to shrieks and laughter, landing in coiffed hair, martinis, and shrimp cocktails. The frogs croaked in unison, an eerie cacophony that seemed to spell out the words "pie to price" to those listening closely. Careful not to slime Trump himself, who reclined on an oversized gold throne, Cheyenne unwrapped a set of tarot cards, their edges stained with what looked suspiciously like alligator blood. Spreading the deck dramatically across the table, she crooned, "From the swamps of Florida to the corridors of power, I bring you the past, the present, and the shadows of the future." The MAGA faithful leaned in, their excitement palpable, as Cheyenne conducted the proceedings like some dark maestro. For her first trick, she flicked her wrist, and with an audible pop, the chandelier above exploded into 1,000 shards of light. Gasps erupted as the room dimmed, lit now only by eerie green flames licking at the edges of her sleeves. With another snap, the first tarot card flew from the deck and landed upright on the table. The image? A two-faced Robin Hood, grinning as one hand plundered sacks labeled "poor folk," while the other lavished gifts upon gaudy golden mansions. "The redistribution of the rich," Cheyenne announced, her thick accent turning the words into a lilting melody. A mix of laughter and cheers erupted, the billionaires heartily nodding along, while middle-class attendees smiled nervously, unsure if they were the punchline. With a casual gesture, Cheyenne tossed a handful of swamp water into the air, transforming it into a flock of ravens that spiraled toward the ceiling, cawing "MAGA, MAGA" in unison before vanishing into the rafters. The next card appeared with an ominous streak of sulfur-smelling smoke. This card showed a rickety airliner packed with terrified immigrants flying toward a fortress-like camp. A massive sign over the gates read, "No exit." The camp's grinning ruler posed with bloated bags of gold stamped Fort Knox. The MAGA faithful roared their approval, drowning out concerns from a few uneasier faces in the crowd. Meanwhile, small swamp creatures, mud-covered raccoons and glaring possums, scurried through the room, gnashing harmlessly at shins and weaving through the chaos. But it was the third card that caused the reactions to fracture further. It showcased an intricate telephone system made of tin cans and string. The cans bore labels like MAGA, Doge, Starlink, and Kremlin. The implications didn't need explaining. Elon Musk, sitting near the dais, erupted in gleeful laughter, fist-bumping his team of tech aides. But this laugh didn't echo. It was dampened by a ripple of unease among the MAGA rank and file. Was this joke a bridge too far? They weren't entirely sure anymore. Cheyenne wasn't finished. As silence crept into the room, she waved her mossy hand, and the final, terrible card was revealed. The images flashed one after another, dizzying and damning. Fort Knox's vaults emptied to nothing. April 2nd, Tariffs Liberation Day, emblazoned over gold-flocked stationery. And finally, an enormous zero representing Federal Reserve interest rates and, by extension, economic implosion. The room had barely begun to process it all when the lights flickered ominously. A ghastly chill fell over the crowd. When the chandelier steadied, there stood Vladimir Putin himself, gazing out at the crowd with icy confidence. "Good boy, Donnie," he murmured, his voice slicing through the room like a blade. "This is what I pay for." A hollow cheer rose from the MAGA faithful, desperate and discordant, as Cheyenne released one final flourish. A tornado of swamp water rained frogs, snakes, and crawling creatures back onto the crowd. Through it all, her cracked voice laughed, louder and higher, filling the room like the promise of something terrible yet to come. The parlor tricks were over, but the dread took root and grew.